Far from Earth, deep in space, near Mars, a lonely space station floated silently. It was old, rusty, and forgotten by most humans. Only one man lived there, no doctor. Eli Ward. He was a skilled doctor, once famous. But after a mistake that cost a life, he chose exile. He now lived in silence, fixing machines and treating minor injuries from passing ships. He liked it that way, no people, no noise, no pain, but tonight was different. At 2:37 a.m., station sensors picked up something strange, a signal. It was weak, almost broken, but it was not human. Eli woke up to the sound of the alert. Blinking red lights filled the room. He sat up, rubbed his eyes, and stared at the screen. This signal. "It's alien," he whispered. He pressed a button and played the audio. A soft voice, speaking in a language unknown, echoed through the room. It was filled with pain, fear, and desperation, then silence. Just 10 minutes later, something crashed into the nearby canyon on the Martian surface. A fiery streak burned through the sky before disappearing behind the red mountains. Eli jumped into his small rover and drove fast. He didn't know what to expect. Maybe a drone, maybe a lost ship, maybe nothing, but deep inside, he felt something was calling him. He reached the crash site, and what he saw left him frozen. A sleek, silver ship, broken and burning, was half buried in the dust. Blue smoke rose from its sides, and strange glowing symbols pulsed on its surface. The back door of the ship was open, barely. Eli climbed inside carefully, coughing from the smoke. "Hello? Is anyone alive?" He called. A faint light blinked in the darkness. He followed it, and then he saw her. A young alien girl lay on the floor, her skin pale blue, her hair silver like moonlight. She wore a strange armor that shimmered like stars, blood bright and glowing leaked from a wound on her side. Eli rushed to her, checking her pulse. It was weak. Her eyes opened for a second, large and full of light. She tried to speak, but coughed instead. Then, with great effort, she whispered, "Help." Then she collapsed again. Eli picked her up gently and rushed back to the rover. He didn't know who she was, but he knew one thing. He didn't help her now. She would die back at the station. Eli placed her on the medical bed. He had never treated someone like her. Her organs, her blood, everything was different, but she was still alive, still breathing. He worked fast, using everything he had: medicine, tools, scanners. Her body was rejecting his medicine. She needed something more, something alien. As he tried to stop the bleeding, a strange device on her chest started glowing. It projected a hologram of a star map and a royal symbol. Eli stared at it in shock. "She's important," he muttered. Then the hologram showed a message in English, auto-translated by the device. "Royal blood detected, urgent medical attention required, warning, enemies in pursuit." Eli stepped back, heart pounding. Whoever this girl was, someone dangerous was looking for her. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Just then, he saw something that chilled him to the bone. A dark, triangle-shaped spaceship entered orbit above Mars. It had no lights, no ID code, and no message. But it was scanning the surface, slowly. Methodically, Eli turned back to the girl. She was sweating, breathing fast, body trembling. He didn't know her name, her story, or her people. But he knew one thing: she was running from something evil, and now he was part of it. "Who are you?" he whispered. "What have you brought here?" Suddenly, the station lights flickered. The main power system started failing. Then complete darkness. The alien girl began to cry out in pain, her body shaking. The machines beeped wildly. She was crashing again. Eli rushed to her side, grabbing a flashlight. He turned on backup power and checked her vitals. The readings made no sense. Her body temperature was dropping fast. Then he noticed a small needle embedded in her armor. Glowing red, A tracking device. They're coming, he said softly. Just then, the station alarm went off again this time. It wasn't a signal. It was a boarding alert. Something, or someone, had just entered the docking bay. Eli looked at the girl, then at the dark hallway outside the med room. He had to decide fast: fight, hide, or run. One thing was clear. This was only the beginning. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. The space station floated in orbit like a ghost, hidden in the shadow of Mars. Inside, Dr. Eli stood frozen, holding a plasma tool in one hand and a scalpel in the other. The alien girl lay on the table, still unconscious, her breathing shallow. Outside the medbay door, soft metal footsteps echoed in the hallway. Something or someone had entered the station. Eli turned off the lights and crouched beside the table, heart pounding in his chest. He could hear the hiss of the airlock. Then, a low, guttural voice speaking a language he didn't recognize. 3 shadows passed by the frosted medbay glass stall, armored and silent. They didn't speak again. But they were searching. Not for a place, for her. Eli's mind raced. He couldn't fight them, and he couldn't let them find her. He activated the emergency tunnel beneath the medbay floor, a narrow shaft used for old wiring. With great effort, he lifted the girl into his arms and climbed down into the dark. The tunnel was cold and smelled of rust. As he crawled, he felt her shift in his arms. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but aware. For a moment, they glowed with a soft light, like stars behind clouds. You're not one of them, she whispered. No. Eli whispered back. I'm just a doctor. She looked at him. Confused? You're human? Yes, he said. And I'm trying to save you. She coughed, and for a second, her body shimmered like a flicker in a hologram. Then she steadied. My name is Ilari, she said, Princess of the House of Rael. Eli paused, stunned. A princess. Now he understood the royal symbol. The message, the enemy ship in orbit. He was not just helping an alien. He was helping royalty. I need to get you somewhere safe, Eli said. No, she shook her head. There is no safe place. Not anymore. Eli crawled deeper into the tunnel, finally reaching an old maintenance chamber. It was small and dusty, but had a power link and med scanner. He laid her down and began scanning her again. Her body was breaking down. Her cells weren't regenerating. Your body is rejecting my treatment, he said. I don't have what you need. She reached weakly toward her armor and pressed a button. A small hidden compartment opened, revealing a glowing blue crystal embedded in a device. This is called the Valen core, she said. It keeps my blood stable. But it's damaged. Eli looked at it carefully. The device was alien, delicate, and way beyond anything humans had made. But maybe, just maybe, he could fix it. He connected it to a diagnostic panel and began working. As he did, she began to speak again, her voice soft, her eyes distant. They tried to poison me, she said at the royal dinner. My own cousin, Lord Kale. He wants the throne. He wants my father dead. Eli paused. She was not just a lost alien. She was a key to a royal war, and her enemies had followed her across the stars. Suddenly, the device sparked. Eli pulled his hands back as a beam of light shot from the core and scanned the room. A voice spoke in perfect English. Life signs confirmed. Rael blood present, beginning cellular restoration. The core glowed brighter. And Ilari gasped as her body reacted. Her skin healed slightly. Her breathing steadied. Eli smiled. It's working. She opened her eyes and looked at him. I don't understand, she said. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Eli looked down, thinking of the life he once had. Of the patient he lost. The mistake that ended his career. Maybe this is my second chance, he said. But their moment of peace didn't last. Above them, the emergency. Lights turned red. The station's AI voice came online. Warning: external breach in cargo deck 3. Unauthorized access detected. Eli's face turned pale. They found the tunnel entrance, he said. Ilari grabbed his hand. Weak, but determined. If they find me, they'll kill you too. I'm not letting them take you, Eli said. He turned off the scanner and packed the tools. The station wasn't safe anymore. He needed to move her again, but where? Ilari pressed the side of her belt and projected a hologram of a hidden escape ship. It's buried on the Martian surface, she said, hidden under a decoy structure. I can lead you there, Eli nodded. But as they prepared to leave, a sudden hiss filled the chamber. Gas, they were being flushed out. One of the assassins had found the access vents. Eli grabbed the crystal device, lifted Ilari again, and kicked open the emergency hatch. He dropped into the lower shaft, just as the room filled with toxic mist. Above him, he heard boots on metal, and a voice, cold and sharp, say one word: find her. Darkness is not silent in space. It breathes, it listens, it waits. Inside the belly of the old space station, shadows moved like ghosts. The lights flickered. Metal creaked, and cold air hissed through the vents. Dr. Eli knew the station better than anyone, but now it felt like a trap. He carried Princess Ilari through the maintenance shaft, her breathing shallow against his shoulder. Above them, footsteps followed, slow, careful, hunting steps. Whoever had come aboard wasn't rushing. They were confident. They were professionals. Eli ducked into a narrow side tunnel, nearly invisible in the dark. He placed Ilari down and activated a small barrier seal, hiding their heat signature the moment they were hidden. Ilari opened her eyes. They're not soldiers, she whispered. They're Veilwalkers. Eli frowned. What does that mean? He asked. They don't speak. They don't miss, she said. They were created for one purpose: to kill people like me. As she spoke, Eli's wrist communicator blinked. The station's AI had managed to reroute a small feed to his device. He opened the map, showed 3 intruders, moving with military precision. One of them was already near the backup power core. If they destroyed it, the station would go completely dark and the escape plan would die with it. Eli wiped sweat from his forehead. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a doctor. But he couldn't stay hidden forever. He looked at Ilari, then at the plasma cutter hanging on his belt. This is probably a bad idea, he muttered. He left her hidden and crawled into the next shaft. If he could reach the backup core first, maybe he could rig a distraction, maybe give her a chance to live. Meanwhile, Ilari reached into her belt and pulled out a thin silver thread. It was part of her royal tech called a whisper line. She whispered a command, and the thread began to glow. Then it vanished into the air, like smoke, far across the galaxy on the royal command ship. A signal blinked. The king's eyes widened. She's alive, he said. My daughter is alive. Back on the station. Eli reached the power core. Just as one of the Veilwalkers entered from the other side, the assassin wore black armor that seemed to swallow light. Its face was covered, and it made no sound. Eli ducked behind a pillar, heart thudding in his ears. The Veilwalker scanned the room, pausing. Then it stepped forward, silent, fast, and deadly. Eli looked down at the plasma cutter in his hand. He had never used it as a weapon before, but he was out of options. As the assassin walked past him, Eli jumped. The cutter roared to life with a bright blue flash. He slashed toward the armor, but the assassin moved like smoke. It dodged, twisted, and slammed Eli into the wall. Pain shot through his shoulder. The cutter fell to the ground. The Veilwalker raised a black blade, preparing to strike, but just then the lights flickered again, and a loud alarm echoed through the station. Boom! A secondary system exploded, triggered by Ilari's whisper line command. The assassin turned its head just for a second. Eli grabbed the plasma cutter and stabbed upward. Hitting the neck joint, sparks flew as the machine body convulsed, then fell to the floor. Twitching, Eli stood over it, breathing hard, shaking. "I'm a doctor, not a killer," he said, "but I guess I'm learning." He grabbed the assassin's scanner and ran back through the shaft. When he reached Ilari, she was already sitting up. Barely, her skin pale. "You're hurt," she said. "I'm fine," Eli lied. Holding his bleeding arm, "We don't have much time. Your signal reached someone." "I think your father got it," Ilari nodded. "He'll come, but not fast enough." They moved quickly through the lower tunnels toward the escape pod bay. But the scanner in Eli's hand blinked red again. 2 more Veil Walkers, closing in from opposite sides. "No way out," Eli said, "unless—" He looked at a sealed chamber on the side wall. Inside was an old cryotube used for cargo that needed deep freeze. He looked at Ilari, then at the scanner. "I'll hide you in there. They won't detect you," he said. "I'll draw them." "Away." "No," Ilari said. "They'll kill you. I can handle it." Eli said, "I have one more trick." He opened the chamber, helped her inside, and sealed the door as soon as it locked. He turned and ran down the opposite hallway. The scanner in his hand beeped louder. He was leading them away as he reached the engine room. He set the scanner on overload. It would explode in 60 seconds. He ducked into a service closet, hiding, breathing fast. 2 Veil Walkers appeared, silent as death. They followed the signal and didn't see the trap. Boom! The scanner exploded, shaking the station. The assassins were gone. But Eli didn't move. He was on the floor, unconscious, blood on his head. Silence wrapped around her like ice. Princess Ilari opened her eyes inside the cryopod. For a second, she couldn't remember where she was. Then the memory returned like a cold wind, doctor. Eli, the assassins, the explosion. She reached out, but the pod walls pressed in around her. No sound, no signal, no warmth. She pressed her palm against the glass. It hissed open slowly, releasing a thin mist into the dim corridor. The lights above flickered, and sparks danced from the ceiling. The station was damaged. Maybe dying, she stepped out, weak and dizzy, holding the cryo chamber wall. "Eli," she called softly. "Doctor." No answer. She stumbled through the hallway, passing burn marks and broken panels. Her heart beat faster. Was he gone? She found him in the engine room, lying on the floor, blood on his forehead. Face pale, not moving. "No," she whispered. Falling to her knees, "You saved me. I won't let you die." She placed her fingers on his neck, a slow, faint pulse. Still alive but fading, she reached into her belt and pulled out a small black cube. It was alien tech, something forbidden to outsiders. But Eli wasn't an outsider anymore, not to her. She pressed it against his chest and whispered a command in her native tongue. The cube opened, transforming into thin silver wires and soft blue light. It scanned his body, reading his injuries: fractured ribs, internal bleeding, brain trauma, too much for any normal doctor to fix. But the cube could help, with a price: her energy. Ilari closed her eyes and connected her wrist to the device. The cube pulsed brighter as it drew power from her own life force. Pain rushed through her like fire. But she didn't stop. She focused on Eli's face. On the moment he said, "I'm trying to save you," the device glowed one last time. Then, faded. Eli gasped and opened his eyes. He sat up, coughing, confused. "What happened?" he asked. "You nearly died," Ilari said, with a weak smile. "So I broke a few royal laws." He looked at the wires still wrapped around him. "You used alien tech." She nodded. "You used your hands to save me. I used mine to save you." Eli touched the device, then looked at her. "You're burning up. You gave too much." "I'll recover," she said. "But we need to leave now. This station won't survive another attack." Together, they moved toward the cargo bay, where the hidden escape pod was buried. Ilari guided him with a hologram map only she could unlock. As they walked, she explained the truth of her world. "My father is dying," she said, "and if I don't return soon, my cousin will take the throne. He poisoned me to stop that. And now he's using bounty hunters across galaxies to finish the job." Eli frowned. "So the Veilwalkers work." "For him, they're not just hunters," she said. "They're experiments, part machine, part assassin, emotionless." Eli stopped near a sealed wall. "I've never seen this part of the station before." "It's not part of your station," Ilari said, placing her hand on the panel. With a soft click, the wall melted away, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside was a sleek alien escape ship's maul, black and shaped like a blade. "This was buried here years ago," she said. "Planted in case of exile, they entered the ship, and it came to life at her touch. Lights flowed along the walls like water, and the cockpit opened with a hiss." Eli sat in the co-pilot's seat, staring at the unfamiliar controls. "I hope you know how to fly this thing," he said. "I was raised in a palace, not a cockpit," she smirked. "But I've had some training." The ship powered up, rising off the floor as the station trembled. Below them, another explosion rocked the outer wall. The last Veilwalker had returned. And it wasn't alone. Eli saw a second ship entering orbit on the monitor. "They're sending reinforcements." Ilari pulled up the star chart, locked in coordinates, and looked at Eli. "If we don't make it to my world, the war begins." He nodded, gripping the armrest. "Then let's finish what we started." The escape ship shot out of the cargo bay like a streak of lightning. Behind them, the space station finally collapsed, swallowed in fire and smoke. But ahead of them, stars, danger, and a destiny neither of them fully understood. The stars looked different here. They didn't twinkle like Earth's. The K shimmered, cold, sharp, ancient, as if they were watching, judging. The escape ship exited hyperspace near the edge of the Rial system. Ilari leaned forward, eyes fixed on the distant planet that shined like a sapphire, her home, but it no longer felt safe. Eli stared out the window, silent. This wasn't just another world. This was the heart of an empire, a place where humans had never been invited, and now he was going straight to the royal palace with a half-healed princess and a body full of bruises. "Are you sure your people won't shoot us down?" he asked. Ilri gave a tired smile. "They'll scan me and recognize my royal code," she said. "They'll let us land," but they didn't. As soon as the ship entered orbit, 3 royal guard ships surrounded them. Red lights flashed across the control screen, and a voice echoed in the ship. "Unidentified craft. Power down engines. Prepare for boarding." Eli's heart sank. "That doesn't sound like a welcome. They think I'm dead," Ilari said. This is what fear looks like. Moments later, armed soldiers in silver armor stormed the small ship. They didn't speak to Eli, didn't even look at him. They only stared at Ilari, as if she were a ghost come back from the stars. She stood, tall, weak but proud, and whispered, "Take me to my father." They flew her to the central palace in a silent black cruiser. Eli sat across from her, hand pressed to his injured side. He felt out of place, just a human, caught in something too big for him. But she looked at him with calm eyes and said, "You saved me, Eli. Don't forget that even if they do." The palace was massive, built into a mountain of glowing crystal. Guards lined the entrance, and alien creatures bowed as they passed. Inside, everything felt cold gold, stone, and silence until they reached the throne room. At the center sat a tall, aging alien king, skin like polished stone, crowned woven with energy. His eyes lit up the moment he saw Ilari. "My daughter," he whispered, voice breaking. "You live." She ran to him and fell to her knees. "I failed. Father, I was poisoned." and the Veil Walkers hunted me. Eli stayed at the back, trying to stay invisible. But the king noticed him immediately. Who is the human? He asked, voice deep and sharp. Ilari stood and turned. He saved my life more than once. I owe him everything. The council members around the throne whispered, shocked, a human inside the palace. Touching royal tech, protecting the heir unthinkable, one counselor stepped forward. Narrow-eyed and bitter, he could be the one who kidnapped her, perhaps even working for Lord Kale. Eli raised his hands. I didn't kidnap anyone, I treated a dying girl. I didn't even know who she was. The king stood slowly, walking toward him. He was tall, intimidating, and filled with power. You are a healer? He asked. Eli nodded. I'm a doctor. I used what I had, and when that failed, she used alien tech to save me. The king studied him for a long time. Then, without warning, he raised a royal blade and pointed it at Eli's chest. You touched. Royal blood, used forbidden technology, entered sacred airspace. The blade began to glow. Eli didn't flinch. I didn't come here for thanks or punishment, he said. I came because she asked me to. If you want to strike me down, do it, but don't erase what we did together. A deep silence filled the room. Then Ilari stepped between them and said, if you punish him, you punish me. He is not our enemy. Father, he is the reason I'm standing here. The king slowly lowered his blade. He turned to the court and raised his voice. This human saved the heir of Rael. By our law, he must be judged. Pause, but by our honor, he must be rewarded. The guards stepped back, surprised. Eli looked confused. Rewarded? He said, I thought I was going to prison. The king smiled, for the first time. I offer you the favor of the crown, a gift never given to a human from a pedestal. The king lifted a small golden emblem, shaped like a star within a circle. He pressed it to Eli's chest. Tet melted into his skin, glowing for a moment. You now walk protected under Rael law, the king said. Anywhere in this galaxy, your name carries my mark. Eli blinked. Wow, he said. So, do I get a spaceship too? Ilari laughed, softly. You're lucky you're still breathing. But in the shadows of the court, not everyone was smiling. One figure turned and walked into the dark, cloak trailing behind him. A red symbol blinked on his wrist, the same symbol as the Veil Walkers. He whispered into a calm. The human has the king's favor. We must act before he learns the truth. Asterisk, a crown does not silence all voices. The throne room was quiet. But the silence was not peace, was pressure. Behind every still face sat questions, suspicions, and hidden truths. Eli stood in the center of a vast chamber aboard a floating space citadel, the king's personal court orbiting the twin moons of Rael Prime. He was no longer a guest. He was on trial. The favor of the crown burned like a faint tattoo on his chest. But it wasn't enough to shield him from the stares of the High Council. Alien nobles, generals, and ancient scholars sat in judgment. Each one dressed in flowing robes marked with stars and symbols of power. Ilari sat to the side, still weak but alert, her eyes never leaving Eli. The king stood high above, silent. As the head chancellor spoke, this human touched royal blood. The chancellor said, entered sacred space, and handled relic tech without permission. Eli raised his hand, calm but firm. I didn't ask for any of this, he said. I responded to a distress call. Your princess would be dead if I hadn't acted. Some counselors nodded, others whispered. The chancellor continued, and now, the favor of the crown has been granted without council vote, without tradition. His voice rose. This sets a dangerous precedent. Majesty. Ilari stood up, her voice clear. Tradition almost killed me, she said. This human saved me. When our own people abandoned me, the king's eyes narrowed. Speak your verdicts, he said to the council. Let the stars hear your judgment, one by one. Counselors cast votes, some in favor of Eli, some against. It was close, too. Close, but just before the final vote could be cast. Alarms blared throughout the citadel, red lights flashed, and the floor shook beneath their feet. Boom! A shockwave hit the chamber, and royal guards rushed in. Enemy ships have entered orbit. One shouted, multiple Veilwalker units are breaching the hull. The council scattered in panic. The king stood firm, his voice calm but commanding. Protect the princess, he ordered. Secure the chamber and bring the human to me, Eli. Didn't wait. He grabbed Alari's arm and pulled her toward a hidden side door. I'm not letting them trap us in another room again, he said. They moved through glowing crystal halls as explosions rocked the citadel. Veilwalkers dropped in from the ceilings like shadows, blades drawn. Guards fought hard, but many fell in a narrow corridor. One of the assassins reached Ilariot's. Blade cutting across her shoulder, she cried out. Falling back, Eli stepped forward. Grabbing a fallen guard's weapon, he fired. Once. Twice the shots hit the creature's armor, barely slowing it. Then he remembered the holothread Ilari once used. He found a small device on her belt, activated it, and wrapped it around his hand. It glowed bright blue, humming with energy. The Veilwalker lunged logged forward. The holothread wrapped around the assassin's body and burned through its metal core. It collapsed in sparks. Twitching, Ilari looked up at him, weak but smiling. You're starting to think like one of us, she said. They reached the royal med bay, where an ancient machine, the Starforge healer, was hidden. It could regenerate tissue, repair bone, and even slow death. Eli placed Ilari on the healing bed, activating the machine. I'll hold them off, he said. You heal, I fight. You're not a soldier, she said, eyes closing. I wasn't, he replied. Now I'm something else. Back. In the council chamber, the king fought beside his elite guards. He struck down a Veilwalker with his own hands. Roaring with fury, then, from the smoke, a new figure emerged, tall, robed in red. With a glowing staff shaped like a twisted crown. Lord Kale, the king's own blood traitor. Cousin, usurper. You grow old, uncle, Kale sneered, and weak. Letting a human claim your daughter's honor, the king raised his blade. I see you for what you are now, he said. A coward dressed in ambition. Their weapons clashed. Light against shadow, steel against fire. But the king was wounded, tired, and Kale struck fast and deep. Eli arrived just in time to see the king fall to one knee, blood on his hands. Without thinking, Eli ran toward them, slamming his shoulder into Kale. Sending him stumbling back, Kale turned, ready to strike again, but Ilari stepped forward. Healed and glowing with energy, you will not take my throne, she said. Lifting her father's fallen blade, it responded to her touch, lighting up with royal light. The chamber pulsed with power as the blade chose her. Kale looked at the council, but no one moved. Then he vanished into the smoke, retreating. The battle was over for now. The king looked up at Eli, eyes full of pain and pride. You chose to fight for people who weren't your own, he said. That is what makes you one of us. Eli helped him stand. Your people may not accept me, he said. But I didn't come here to be accepted. Ilari stood beside him. You came here to save a life, she said, and ended up saving a kingdom. Peace feels strange when you don't remember what silence sounds like. Eli stood alone in the palace garden. Above him, 2 moons floated in a purple sky. Soft wind moved through glowing trees, and distant towers hummed with life. But inside, he felt the weight of everything they had been through. He touched the place on his chest where the king's emblem had melted into his skin. It still pulsed faintly warm. Alive, he wasn't just a doctor anymore. He was something else now. Something the universe hadn't seen before. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. Larry stood there, dressed not in armor, but in royal white. Her wounds had healed, but her eyes held a deeper fire now. She had seen betrayal, survived death, and reclaimed her right to rule. "I thought I'd find you here," she said. "I don't like thrones," Eli replied, "but your gardens, not bad." She smiled. Stepping beside him, "The council accepted your favor today. It's official now. You're a recognized ally of Rael." Eli looked up at the stars. "All I did was stop some bleeding and punch a few machines. You did more than that," she said. "You reminded us what honor looks like." He stayed quiet for a moment, then asked, "What happens to Kale?" "He fled to the shadow systems," Ilari replied, "but he'll return. Men like him always do, and when he does, we'll be ready." They walked along the crystal path in silence. Then Ilari stopped and looked at him with serious eyes. "There's something else," she said, "a request from me." Eli raised an eyebrow. "I already broke every rule your people have. What's one more?" "I want you to stay," she said, "here, with me. Not as a doctor, not as a guest, but as someone who belongs here." Eli blinked, caught off guard. He looked around the palace, the sky, the world that had once tried to kill him, and then at her eye. "Don't know," he said. "I have a home. It's broken, yes, but it's mine." "Earth doesn't need saving right now," she replied. "We do," before he could answer. A royal guard ran toward them. "Your Highness?" The guard said, "A signal has arrived. It's news. It's from Earth." Eli's eyes widened. "What kind of signal?" he asked. The guard held out a small device. The message played static at first. Then a human voice, unidentified alien transmission received. Rael energy signature detected. Earth Command requests immediate explanation. Eli sighed, rubbing his face. "They know. My people know I was here." Ilari nodded. "Then perhaps it's time for us to stop hiding from each other." She stepped closer and handed him a crystal chip. "This holds everything: our history, our science, our truth. If Earth is ready to listen, give this to them." He looked down at it, then back at her. "And if they're not ready?" She smiled sadly. "Then wait until they are, or return to the stars the next day." A royal ship was prepared. Eli stood at the loading ramp, dressed in royal travel armor. The king stepped forward one last time. "You came to us as a stranger," the king said, "and you leave as a symbol." He placed his hand on Eli's shoulder. "You saved my daughter, my throne, and my future. You are always welcome here." Ilari walked up to Eli, offering her hand. "You'll come back?" she asked. "I'll try," Eli said with a small smile. "But you know Earth, we're slow learners." She leaned in and whispered, "Then I'll come find you first." With one last nod, Eli boarded the ship. As the engines roared to life, the crowd below watched in silence, not just because of the ship, but because of the human inside it. As he left the Rael system, Eli stared out the window, one hand on the crystal chip, one eye on Earth, growing closer. He didn't know what he would say to them, but he knew this much: he was no longer just a man who made a mistake. He was the human who changed everything.